Iran is a different conversation in a lot of ways. You said you noticed that I didn't mention it. Iran isn't technically an Arab nation, and so they don't share language and speak Farsi. Religiously speaking, is what you're kind of pointing to. Since the Islamic Revolution, we're looking at a predominantly, obviously a predominantly Muslim government, and it's been used, or rather misused, in a lot of ways. So the focusing on whether or not they were holding hands in public has to do a lot with the, going against kind of traditional expectations. But there's a lot more that informs Iranian politics that kind of go into that as well and focus on that as opposed to issues of policy. Yeah. There are still, again, it depends on where you happen to be. You'll find incredible differences and variations in what veiling looks like in rural and urban areas, and a lot of that still is sort of remnants of kind of class distinctions. But you also have types of veiling that sort of cross class boundaries in terms of religious expression. So and that's, its own 45-minute lecture, is talking about the variations of veiling in terms of both religion and or class, and how and where those choices are made. But yeah, there still are class distinctions that you can see that are visible. They're not necessarily as visible as they were in the 30s for Shara. Well, it's a very regional discussion. It changes incredibly. It varies incredibly from place to place, even within the same countries. There are generally, every mosque has sections for both men and women. As far as who can come to listen to the discussion, it's fairly open. It's a very inclusive one. I don't know about specifications about whether or not the women would be wearing the veil or not wearing the veil. Usually, it's fairly common, even for non-Muslims, to wear it out of respect if entering a mosque. But I don't know of any modern or contemporary movements that are addressing that specifically. I wish I had some actual examples. There's a long tradition, though, of women's folk music throughout the Arab world, and a lot of it you'll see associated with various celebrations, especially celebrations that would have been separated in terms of genders, where you will see, very specific songs that the women would have passed on from within their communities that had to do with those specific markers. There are examples of it. There are examples of songs I can think of, but I don't necessarily know that they're songs that would have been overtly subversive or recognized as, let's say, privately feminine. There would be folk songs that the men would also know, but they were traditionally sort of relegated to the women's experience within the cultures. Again, like I said, I would think that there are examples of it. I would have to look at them. And you can see it. The primary examples that I would see would be in poetry. But there's a long tradition of putting Arabic poetry to music as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of that had filtered through the women's communities that we're talking about. Part of it was when I was talking about Sadawi talking about rewriting history from a woman's perspective.
Right.
And part of what she argues, and Mernisi, the Moroccan sociologist, does this as well. She looks into records and documents, legal records and political documents from the period prior to empire, and finds records of women judges and women who were active parts of the governmental structures, performing weddings, women getting divorces in ways that became very taboo or very problematic in the post-colonial era. And so she's trying to find out what happened, what change or shift occurred to where women's participation in public life changed so dramatically. There's actually a lot of interesting research in legal journals where people are looking at how women's participation existed beforehand, and that kind of filters into the argument that Sagawi and Marnisi are making, that it is an indigenous part of their culture, that women have active roles in society and challenge systems that are problematic, and that something happened, some combination of colonialism and the nationalistic arguments that were trying to redefine Arab selfhood that somehow clamped down on that previous tradition.
Okay, thank you.
It's a fairly traditional Tunisian song, and what's interesting about what she's doing is she's rewriting a nationalist song essentially by rewriting its context. It's a nationalist song that was used, as far as I know, originally. It was became popular as part of the populist uprisings against the French Empire. And what she was doing there, she's singing the same song, but it's a very different context now. She's rewriting the parameters of nationalism, and the verses of the song, a part of what she's saying is that the voices, that basically what they're hearing are the voices of the free, and that the voices won't be silenced. And that's kind of the refrain that keeps coming through. But now, as she's challenging the form of nationalism that came after empire, and so she's challenging that kind of what authors like Thiongo and Kenya call neo-colonialism, where it's essentially we haven't actually left the colonial era, we've simply repeated its structures from within. And so she's kind of rewriting that, using the same sort of poetic structure to challenge a new regime, essentially.